Hello, welcome back to my channel. So this is why I did that, where I speak about all things mental health, personal development and faith, and basically whatever else that I feel like talking about. Um, so this morning, what it is that I was thinking about after I woke up was this idea of keep walking. I'm going to be borrowing from Johnny Walker, of course, but let me get there. I woke up today feeling in a place where I realized that my faith with God or my walk with God is not necessarily where I want it to be, right? I'm feeling a bit distant. I'm feeling a bit stale. And, I can understand that part of the reason for that has to do with the fact that I may not have been keeping up with my relational disciplines with Him in the way that I should. And almost always, the reason why it is that you might feel distant from God has to do with you and not Him, although He sometimes does hide and seek with us. But anyway, I woke up feeling that way. And one of the things that I was doing as part of my spiritual disciplines is that I've been using this app called Abide, and it provides daily meditations. It's a very powerful app. Abide, Abide. Check it out. And the meditation for today had to do with the idea of getting away from your old life and moving towards the new life that you have. So that has to do with the idea of letting go and grabbing on, right? And for me, the idea that came to my mind had to do with the idea that sometimes you have to scratch and sniff your way through your faith. It's not going to always be pretty. It's not going to always be easy. I'm coming out of a place, hopefully I'm still there, where things are nice and easy, they're kind of flowing, they feel intuitive, everything's beautiful. But it's not always that way. And so I was thinking to myself and praying into myself that it's important to value and be humble about the fact that sometimes you have to scratch and sniff your way through things. Sometimes you have to crawl your way through things. Sometimes you have to walk your way through things, right? And there's a couple of images that come to my mind for that. First of all, it's just the principles that Paul speaks about running your own race. And we speak about this a lot, but at least what comes to my mind is kind of two things. One, the value of staying in your lane. Um, and that's important. So if you find yourself, let's say, running track and field, 100 meters, 200, 800, in order to not get disqualified, you have to stay in your lane. And part of the reason why you do so is so that you can actually accurately measure who ran the fastest and who got to the finish line first. But it's also to avoid danger because athletes can run into each other and cause each other injury. And it's a similar principle when you're driving. You have to stay in your lane um, so that you can stay properly apart from other drivers to avoid accidents. Um, and it's also for the purpose of if you're going to switch lanes, as you often do, you have to indicate, you have to let everyone in the surrounding area know that I'm about to switch lanes and do so in a safe way. So it's very important for you to stay in your lane. And part of that concept has to do with not comparing yourself to other people. You have to live your life, you have to run your race. But it's important to understand that comparing yourself is not something which is inherently bad. Comparing yourself can be a very powerful and helpful thing, provided that you do it from a healthy place and for healthy reasons. So it's perfectly legitimate and healthy, for example, for me as a psychologist to compare myself to other psychologists, my colleagues, my peers, provided that I'm doing so for the reason of figuring out and learning from them best practices, the things that they are doing well, ideas that I want to learn. That's healthy and that's good. And you could do that with other people in your life, friends or family, colleagues, other Christ followers, anyone else in your community or in the world. If it's coming from a healthy place and it's being done for healthy reasons, perfectly fine. Compare away. But it can become toxic. It can become toxic when you compare yourself for the purposes of devaluing yourself and coming to a place where you believe you're nothing or you're worthless or you're trash and you can never move forward in your life or succeed by whatever definition you use to understand what success is. Or the other way, the opposite pole of toxic comparison would be for the purposes of being arrogant, for the purposes of self-aggrandizing, right? Where you believe that you're all that you're better than everyone else. That's the kind of thing that can be unhealthy and toxic comparison. The kind of place where you want to be regarding comparing yourself is to have an accurate assessment and a judgment of who you are and what you are currently capable of. And you do that for the purposes of seeing what areas am I doing well in life? How am I doing well? How am I growing well? And to keep doing that, to understand what got you there, the mechanism of action that got you to a place where you are healthy in whatever area of life where you are, and then to keep repeating that, to make sure that you know how to systematically replicate it. And then in the areas where you are dissatisfied, where you aren't healthy, it's important to know how to notice it, identify what is going on, identifying what may be going wrong, and then go about the process of resolving it, of improving it, of investing in yourself. For me and other people, a significant part of that is about my faith. So that's part of the thing that I was thinking about and kind of praying into myself today. But to also be humble, because you're not always going to be running free and clear, when it comes to your faith or your life or whatever situation you might be in. Sometimes you have to walk, other times you have to crawl. Sometimes you just have to scratch and sniff your way through a situation. Right? It reminds me of that speech in Any Given Sunday. We fight for that inch, we claw for that inch. And sometimes that's all you can do, and that's perfectly fine. That's a legitimate place to be, provided that you know you are there and you're not giving up and moving forward, right? Part of the reason why Paul describes life and a relationship with God as a marathon or as a race kind of draws from the experiences that I've had running. If you've ever jogged before, any kind of distance, you would know the importance of pacing, of breathing, and of rhythm. That's really what running is about. And finding a stride for yourself and a pace that is right in between not being too easy and not being too hard. Finding that sweet spot in between and doing everything you can to stay there. But you're not always going to be able to stay there. Sometimes your body is going to start giving out. You're going to start getting painful. You're going to start feeling cramps. And I remember what that was like when I finished my first Nelson Mandela marathon. Now, if you haven't run this marathon, you need to understand for half the marathon, for most of the marathon, you're climbing. You're going all the way from Mbali, past Edendale, Aluza, climbing all the way up to Hilton, climbing to Howick, all the way to the capture site at the end of the marathon. It's a rough marathon. And I remember going just past halfway between Hilton and Howick, and my body was just giving out on me, cramping all over the place. And I was trying to coax my body to just move forward. Okay, just give me a kilometer, and my body after a certain point was just like, no, I have nothing left, Retta. I have nothing left to give. And so at that point, I had to humble myself to the fact that I'm going to have to finish this marathon walking. And I would try to build up a pace again, and my body would just cramp out. My legs were not having it. And so I had to decide that, okay, I'm going to have to walk the rest of the way, And doing so actually provided me an opportunity to talk to this other person who was walking with me. We were just talking about how difficult the marathon is. And I got an opportunity to connect, in a meaningful way with someone. And so sometimes you have to walk, man. Sometimes you have to crawl. Sometimes you have to roll your way there. But it's important to keep going. Stay in your lane, right? Compare yourself to others, but do so for a healthy reason, not for toxic reasons, either to devalue yourself or to think that you're everything to the world and be arrogant. Keep a good pace, keep rhythm, keep breathing, keep walking. If you have to walk, then walk, So that's part of the idea that I've had this morning. And I hope that you can apply this from a mental health perspective, because I think it's very valuable. And of course, if you are a person of faith, if you're a Christ follower, go ahead and take that. But even if you're not, regardless of what faith you follow, if you don't have one, I think there's wisdom in the things that our belief have to say to one another. So please understand, when I speak about my faith in my channel, I'm not doing so for the purposes of Bible bashing people. I'm just being honest and authentic about a place where I draw a lot of my inspiration. And that definitely comes out in my practice, just in terms of how I see clients, how I treat clients, the kind of person I want to be. But yeah, that's what it is that I have for now. So I really hope you have a great day. Keep walking, Be humble about it. It's perfectly fine to walk sometimes. It's all good. Just keep going. And yeah, feel free to like this video, to subscribe, please. I look forward to reading your comments. Um, and yeah, this is another video from So That's Why I Did That. Okay, signing off. Bye-bye.